I felt the cold straps secure me tightly to the bed, some rope and some belts, I determined. Pulling, struggling, I couldn't escape the spread eagle I'd been placed in, and worst of all, I was wearing nothing. Well, not actually nothing, but it sure felt like it. Looking down at my lower section, tightly caressing my bum was a pair of purple panties, seemingly fit for a little girl, and up top, what I recognized as a training bra, with some toilet paper stuffed inside. My damn big sister. Brianna loved trick-or-treating even after she grew out of it herself. She'd cart me around in my little costume each year, with or without the other neighborhood kids, loving the whole process. This year, I had told her I was too old for it. I was 13, after all 8th grade is too old to walk around and beg for candy. I should have been going to a party instead, like high schoolers and adults do, and I planned to. That's the stage of my life I am in now. See, the best thing about Halloween is seeing girls in their pretty costumes, and now that we were almost in high school and some of the girls my age were finally getting into and through puberty, some of them were willing to try pushing the boundaries a little bit. The first few girls had started developing breasts of their own, and while they mostly stayed covered in school, Halloween was their first chance to show them off, as I was sure they would. I had a singular goal, be in a place where those girls would be tonight. Mainly, if I didn't get to see Caitlin in whatever costume she was planning on wearing, I'd have nothing to live for anymore. I'd been in love with her for at least 6 months at this point, and that might as well be a lifetime. I knew she didn't like me back, but I at least had to see her, right? "Hi, baby brother," announced my 18-year-old, high school senior sister. I squirmed in my restraints, trying to free my wrists and get out of the embarrassing outfit she'd put me in. I ignored her as I continued to struggle, contorting myself trying to break the surprisingly strong web she'd spun. When that failed, I turned to my last resort. "Mom," I yelled, ready to get her in trouble. I wasn't worried about embarrassment from her. It's not like I put this stuff on myself, and come on, it was Mom. She'd seen worse. "That won't do much good, little bro, no one is home. And they won't be, until tomorrow. Until then, I'm in charge, and I'm so sad you won't go trick-or-treating with me this year. Unless you've changed your mind." "No, Brianna, I have other plans. Let me out of this." "Oh, I don't think so, little bro," she responded playfully. "Not until you commit to coming with me. After all, you know it's my favorite thing and I can't go alone. Why don't you just take the neighbor's kid? I'm sure they'll love the free babysitting. Come on, I have to pee." "First of all, ew," she responded, with a heavy dose of fake disgust. "Second, that's no fun. I want to spend time with my baby brother Huntai." Huntai was a diminutive shortening for Hunter, what she used to call me as a little kid. It had been a while since I'd heard that one. "Well, I don't even have a costume." "You're out of luck, now let me out and take back these dumb panties." I showed more true anger at the end of my sentence there, but she wasn't at all intimidated. "Oh. You weren't planning to go to Kevin Marshak's party without a costume, were you? That would be pretty odd. Or, maybe, you were going to wear this?" She reached into a bag at her feet and drew out what I was actually planning to wear, a set of brown monk robes with a rope belt. She had caught me in a lie, which, to be fair, was far from the best lie ever told. By now, after all of my squirming, the restraints had become pretty uncomfortable, even painful. It seemed I had few cards left to play, so I gave in. "Fine, whatever. I'll walk with you around the block before the party." "But that's it. 30 minutes. An hour," she countered. "Fine," I accepted. "But you won't be wearing this," Brianna exclaimed, returning the robes to the bag where she'd stored them. "We're gonna do some experimenting and I'll find the perfect costume for you. Lucky for you, I have so many old ones to pick from that will fit." I'm not wearing your old costumes, I shouted back. You will if you don't want these pictures floating around. With a few quick swipes on her phone, she pulled up the photos in question and turned the screen to me to see. There I was, lying on my bed, panties and training bra like I was wearing now, but not the ropes and belts holding me down. She must have done this right after I fell asleep, though I had no idea how she managed to get the clothes on me. I also saw in the picture I was wearing a little bit of makeup, some light sparkle on my eyes and pink lip gloss. I couldn't tell if I still had it on because I had no view of a mirror, but that explained the oddly sweet smell and taste I'd been sensing. If you don't do this for me, these pictures go out to all of your friends. I'm sure they'd love to see their big macho hunter in his pretty panties. That's not fair. You did this to me. Yeah, but do you think they'll care who did it? I gulped. The cause didn't really matter, that's not something I was willing to risk. I'll tell Mom and she'll ground you for life. Dad will cut off your college fund, you'll face hell if you do that. You're a bully. Maybe. But if you tell on me, at any point, I'll show these to Caitlin. I don't know how the hell she knew about Caitlin, but that was a profound threat. If that girl saw me dressed like this, it would be the end of my life, or might as well be. I'd die from embarrassment alone, plus, she'd tell all of her friends and I'd be a romantic pariah for not just this year, but all of high school too. Brianna was stubborn, but she didn't hate me. I didn't think so, at least. You wouldn't, I stated flatly. You want to find out? She retorted with a frightening ambivalence. After a heavy sigh, I resigned. No, I don't want to find out. Great. We have all day to get ready, so I'll make breakfast and then we'll get started on picking the perfect costume. There's so many to try. Having earned the agreement she was looking for, Brianna released the straps and untied a few knots, allowing me to break free and run to the bathroom. I saw the shoddy makeup job done on my face and aggressively scrubbed it off, and removed the little girl's clothing she'd put me in, changing into more appropriate boys' attire after a quick shower, during which I wondered in disbelief how I was going to get through this ordeal unscathed. All possible paths looked bleak. Brianna wore a sly and victorious smile throughout the whole morning. After we ate a few pancakes she had skillfully fried up, she retreated to the basement to start putting together her creation, digging through old bins of stored-away Halloween decorations and costumes from ages past. Brianna was always fond of dressing up and had a seemingly endless collection of costumes from Halloweens, parties, performances, the works. Okay, so I'd play her little game, go for a short walk, come back, change, and then get to Kevin's party fashionably late. The walk might be mortifying, but I'd make it work. Then afterward, it would be game time. Hunter the monk gets the girl. Well, not gets the girl, but at least gets to see the girl. It was hard to relax when I knew Brianna was preparing for me. In the early afternoon, she finally decided she was ready for her show. I was ready to get it the hell over with. She carried a large tub of costumes she'd assembled, apparently all of the ones she'd chosen for me to try. To me, it looked like a huge pile of fabric, bright colors, shiny faux satin, glitter, and girly nonsense without even a hint of androgyny, let alone masculinity. I want to start with this. It's definitely cute, but I don't know if it will fit. She held up a bright blue dress with a huge petticoat billowing from underneath the medium-length skirt, puff sleeves, and red ribbon accents tied up throughout. I remembered this one from when she played Dorothy in her middle school play. She couldn't have been older than 7th grade for that one. Now I was not a particularly big kid, and I hadn't hit my growth spurt yet, leaving me at the smaller end of 8th grade boys. But I was still convincingly bigger than she was in 7th grade, and the dress looked really tiny to me. There's no way, I claimed. Just take off your clothes and put it on, she commanded. I walked into the bathroom adjoining the living room where we were doing my little fashion show and removed my clothes, except for underwear. I gave pulling on the sparkly blue dress a try before giving up and shouting back that it wasn't going to happen. "Try harder," Brianna insisted. "Don't you dare come out without that dress on." Contorting my body, stretching the fabric, and definitely ripping a seam somewhere, I managed to get my upper body into the right places of the dress as I traveled up through the bottom and pulled the rest down. My whole body felt completely squeezed above the waist, my arms were secured tightly by the short cap sleeves, and the skirt barely covered my underwear, but it was on. I walked out, arms held up in a near T pose out of necessity, and got the first roars of laughter from my cruel sister. "Wow, yeah, you're right, no way that's going to work," she said through chuckles. "Let's just finish it up though," she added, slipping my feet halfway into two small ruby slippers and adding a bright red bow to my short hair. I scowled the whole time. "One quick pic," Brianna announced, as she took some snaps of the sad baby Dorothy she was looking upon. "Can I change now?" I asked, or actually, more like begged. "Yeah, go ahead. Unfortunately for you but super fortunately for me, you've outgrown all of my more modest costumes, so now we're gonna get into the really cute stuff." If this wasn't the really cute stuff, then I didn't know what to expect. Brianna pulled out another garment, and pondered for a moment, before deciding to pass it my way. It looked like a white blouse and purple miniskirt, but it was all one piece, so actually a dress meant to appear like separate parts. The costume fabric faux blouse bodice was shinier than a real one would be, and had a purple crest over the fake front pocket on the left breast. The skirt was a deep purple tartan pattern, with glittery fabric weaved into the plaid. At the junction of the two sections of the dress was a wide fake leather belt, meant to look preppy as could be. "I think this one was called Pampered Brat," Brianna offered. "This one you won't be able to wear over your boy underwear, so let's get you in your new undies." Here was a moment where I could pick a fight and lose, or not pick a fight and still lose. The only difference was the effort required from me, and frankly, it was easier to just bear it and put on the panties than to be threatened with those pictures getting out again. I was at her mercy, and I knew it, and there was nothing to do now. Brianna handed me a pair of bright purple panties, the same ones I'd been tied up in before. I reluctantly accepted the embarrassing item and moved into the bathroom, changing quickly before coming back out to get the dress. "You'll need a bra too, it's a crucial part of the getup," declared Brianna. She had one ready, a similarly colored purple one, which was far too big for me, but she managed to secure it over my arms and around my chest anyway. The cups left large gaps beyond my flat chest, which Brianna resolved by stuffing in pairs of white girls' socks. In only my lingerie, far too mature for an 8th grade girl, let alone boy, I pulled on the tiny schoolgirl costume and watched myself transform into a stereotypical high school slut. I didn't remember Brianna ever wearing this one, and I doubt my parents would ever have allowed it. She must have purchased it behind their back and changed at a party one year. When I emerged, I expected uproarious laughter, but instead Brianna looked slightly disappointed. "Nah, too risque. That's not the look I want for you," she said. On the one hand, I wondered why if I had to dress in a girl's costume I couldn't be a little slutty. After all, if any pretty girl in my class, especially Caitlin, had worn such a thing, I would have been instantly smitten. Honestly, it was a pretty damn cute costume, though I didn't much enjoy the idea of my sister wearing it before me. On the other hand, I was pretty eager to not go out on the street looking like a sexy schoolgirl. It didn't seem right, nor would it go well for me, I figured. Before taking it off, she added the included clip-on necktie piece and wrist cuffs, just to see the whole thing all put together. After getting another picture, as I should have expected, I was permitted to remove the costume and bra but leave on the panties for now. That had become an unavoidable part of whatever outfit I'd end up in. The next costume was bright red, with another storybook poofy skirt, undoubtedly Little Red Riding Hood. I went through my same routine of putting on the costume and emerging from the bathroom, and Brianna was meaningfully happier with this one, to the point where more accessorizing was needed. "Put these on," she demanded, handing me a pair of very high socks. As I drew each one up my legs, I discovered they were not just high socks as I thought, but thigh-high stockings, reaching almost to the bottom of the fluffy petticoat under the short red skirt. At the top of each stocking was a pretty red ribbon tied in a bow, taunting me with the small extra bit of femininity. Brianna also procured a pair of black Mary Janes with a small heel and placed them on my feet, giving my whole lower body a very girly appearance. You might have considered me lucky or unlucky, depending on your view, that I didn't have much leg hair at all. The bodice of the dress was very cute, in my opinion. Mostly red, as you would expect, but with a white apron near the bottom and black laces crisscrossing up the chest, perhaps meant to look like a fake corset or just add some extra ribbon for girliness. Brianna draped the eponymous red hood over my head, which she secured by tying another red ribbon in front. The hood felt oddly nice to wear, and it wasn't lost on me that from behind, I'd be unrecognizable since it covered any distinguishing features. Brianna looked me up and down, and realized she wasn't finished. She spoke aloud. "I have to see how this looks with some makeup, hold on. I didn't realize I'd be wearing makeup tonight. That would be a real pain to get off, it seemed, and particularly excessive since I was already in girls' clothes. Now, it wouldn't be the first time I'd worn makeup. I grew up with an older sister, and being dressed up as a girl at some point is part of every boy's childhood in that situation. But I thought that had ended years ago, well before Brianna had access to real makeup and not just kid stuff. I shouldn't have been so surprised the makeup case was right there on the table and I never noticed. She was ready, of course, as a result of all of that prep this morning. "Come here," she demanded, and I obeyed, placing my virgin face up to her outstretched arm, which pointed a tube of bright red lipstick right at me. Taking my face with her left hand and applying the cosmetic with her right, I felt the slight pulls and resistance as she colored my lips scarlet red, fairly well matching the hue of the shiny costume. She let me go, took a step back, and gazed upon her work. This gave her the right perspective to return with a Q-tip and clean up any imperfections left behind. I tasted and smelled the unfamiliar substance and instinctively went to lick my lips, which Brianna promptly scolded. She didn't want to do a full face of makeup quite yet until we were done, but some red blush was a must to go with Little Red's dress. With a huge, soft fluffy brush she gave me a synthetic flushed appearance, one that probably would have been there from embarrassment the rest of the day anyway, but now was bound to stay. It was amazing just how soft the entire experience was. The brushes were soft, the dress was soft, and the stockings were unbelievably soft. The way they rubbed together with every movement was intoxicating in a way I never expected. I was glad to be wearing a puffy skirt, or else I may have risked showing more excitement than intended. Unprompted, as if I was being controlled purely by instinct, I gave a big twirl and put on a little smile while I did so. My face looked odd, and still very much like a boy in lipstick rather than a girl, but my body looked feminine and pretty, and judging from the mirror, I was damn cute, at least from the neck down. This costume was meant to be somewhat sexy, but not so slutty as the last one, and I liked that about it. For the first time, I actually kind of started having fun. Brianna picked up on the vibe, but wasn't finished, and told me to take off the costume since we had more to look at. Despite only wearing it for a few minutes, she removed the makeup she had applied from my face with a makeup wipe, getting most of the lipstick but not quite all of it. I guessed that was fine. As Brianna combed through her big tub of outfits, considering and reconsidering each one, she landed on a new idea and a large, bright smile creeped across her face. "Let's try this on," she said, almost squealing in her eagerness. The costume she held up was in two parts: a leopard print, cap-sleeved imitation velvet top with pink ruffled flare on all of the seams, and a black skater-style mini skirt, with an extra layer of mesh sewn into the bottom, also showing a stripe of pink. "Hunter the Wildcat, it fits, doesn't it?" she posed. I could tell she was excited. "No bra for this one, but you'll have to wear these," she said, handing me a pair of what looked like tights. They were black, but very surer than any tights I'd seen girls wear before, and witnessing my confusion, Brianna added, "Those are pantyhose. Do not get a run in them." I had put on tights before for a Peter Pan costume, so I knew how, but these seemed so much more delicate and nicer than the opaque heavy green ones I had worn back then. Something about them felt so womanly, probably the fact that they were made for women. Once I managed to get them on, wearing nothing but my panties and pantyhose, I stepped into the cute skirt and secured it around my waist. One thing I hadn't noticed before very quickly became apparent: a fake tail sewn to the back of the skirt dangling down about 2 feet. I then pulled the top over my head, pattern matching the tail. The fake velvet felt somehow both warm and cool on my bare skin, and the top didn't quite reach down to my waistband, instead leaving an inch of exposure between it and the top of the skirt. Shit. She was gonna love this one. When I emerged, Brianna couldn't contain herself and swept me over to a tall bar stool so she could do a proper makeup look. As I sat and put my feet up on the bar of the stool, she added a pair of short black kitten heels to my feet, making the process just a little less comfortable. I crossed my ankles and leaned forward a bit to accommodate the lack of a seat back, which made the makeup job easier for her as well. As she got to work on my face, I saw her expression beam. Both in her mind and out loud she exclaimed, "This is totally the one," and using an eyeliner pencil, proceeded to draw a little black triangle on the tip of my nose, with 3 whiskers across each of my cheeks to go with it. On my eyelids, she used an eyeshadow brush to apply layers of shimmery gold over the entire lid, and then with a liquid eyeliner pencil, traced out a cat eye wing on each side. What kitty could go without big lashes? It felt like forever as Brianna curled my eyelashes with a little torture device from hell, and then applied coat after coat of black mascara, ensuring nothing clumped up between each one. Finally, on my lips, she applied a berry pink liquid lipstick, after which she had me hold still so it could dry. When my lips were ready, I was left with an unsmudgeable matte pretty pink pucker to go with my pretty costume and pretty eye makeup. "Let me see your hands," Brianna demanded, and I acquiesced. She examined my right hand carefully before speaking. "You actually have nice nails," she commented, almost emotionless, as if it were a purely analytical statement. The costume apparently came with fingerless leopard print gloves, which she slipped on my hands, leaving my nails exposed as intended. It worried me that she planned to paint them, since I didn't think that would come off easily later, but those fears were somewhat alleviated when she reached for a bottle of black nail polish instead of a girlier color. "Raw, these are your kitty claws," she said, in a way that was so much more cringy than it even sounds. In a matter of a few foul-smelling minutes, I was the new owner of a set of 10 nicely painted black fingernails, to go with my short little black skirt and elegant pantyhose. In that moment, I loved the way those hose felt. I didn't understand why girls weren't literally always wearing them. Brianna turned me to face the mirror, where I saw an emasculated middle school boy in a girl's wildcat Halloween costume, complete with panties hiding invisibly underneath, pantyhose, and loud leopard print top. His face was decorated with little black nose and whiskers, glimmery eyelids, and dark, long, gorgeous curled lashes, the only things distracting from a pair of soft pink lips. Brianna, from behind, secured the last puzzle pieces: a red choker-style collar with a red heart-shaped dog tag in the front, and a headband with a pair of cute cat ears, matching the top and tail. As was the case with Little Red, I looked unambiguously girlish from the neck down, but despite my made-up face, the boy's haircut was a pretty clear giveaway. So imagine my surprise when Brianna announced, "All right, we're done. We should be ready to go out right after dinner." "Wait. You're done?" I spat out. No, 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 you can't be done. I still look like a boy in makeup. You have to do something with my hair, please. I'll never blend in like this. I don't have to do anything, she coldly corrected. But warming up, she added, but if you so desire, I think we can do something to give you pretty hair. I didn't know whether to feel relieved that she was giving me what I was asking for, or shocked that I was asking for it in the first place. But passing as a girl was pretty much my only shot left at saving myself from years of future embarrassment. If I passed well, no one would know it was me. Brianna returned to the basement and stayed there a while, before coming back to the living room with a wig she had selected for me. I stayed on the bar stool the whole time, so when she arrived, I was ready to have it pulled over my head and secured into place. The wig was shorter than I expected, only reaching down to between my chin and shoulders, middle parted and crimped for a bit of texture on both sides. Crucially, it was definitely a girl's cut, which I didn't realize I wanted until I faced the prospect of going out only partially en femme. With that hair, I thought I could get away with it. My face was still my face. There's only so much that makeup can do. But if you didn't know it was me, it may have taken someone a few seconds to put it together. That was all the time I needed for each house. My sister made me spend the next hour or so dressed up, getting used to my heels and settling into the astonishingly feminine getup. My face itched under the makeup, but any time I reached up to scratch, I got yet another glimpse of my painted nails and held back if I messed it up. That would only give Brianna an excuse to do it again, or pick something worse, if that was even possible. When the sun fell, it was time to trick or treat, and against my resisting body, my mind pushed myself out the door and into the chilly night. Brianna then gave me the final piece of the look, a short cropped faux fur coat which went with the costume, covering my shoulders with soft, fluffy fabric but leaving the front of the costume and midriff still uncovered. As I planned, we walked around the block and rang some doorbells. The costume gave me enough credibility to seem potentially younger than I was, despite the makeup, and most houses didn't give a second look. For the ones that did, I turned my face and averted my gaze, hoping to avoid recognition. Brianna looked thrilled the whole time, herself wearing a simple witch costume she'd thrown together. She loved trick-or-treating, and this year was a special treat, given what she had been able to pull off. As we returned to pass our house, I rushed to get back inside and change out of the insane thing I'd been wearing for a few hours at that point. "Not so fast," Brianna announced. "We're not done, we have plenty of ways left to go." I looked at her in disbelief. "You must be kidding, come on. I did the whole thing you wanted, now I'm going to the party." "You're half right," she responded. "You're going to the party." "No way," I said, stopping in my tracks. An onlooker from afar would have seen a young girl beginning a tantrum in her kitty costume. "Huntai, listen," she began. "I am calling the shots, this is my day today. And I have pictures of you not only in this pretty costume, but in a schoolgirl costume, a Red Riding Hood costume, a tiny baby Dorothy costume, and on top of all of that, in panties, and you aren't even tied up. Shit, and half of them you look so happy to be dressed up too, look at your big smiling red lips." She showed her phone to me again, and as promised, there I was with a big smile, red dress, and bright red lipstick on display. "No one has to see all these. But to keep it that way, tonight you're going to Kevin's party." What was I to do? I was between a rock, the hardest place imaginable. I prayed to drop dead right then and there. Even if I ran away from home, I could have expected to be known as a sissy forever if I ever returned. And I didn't even know how to cook. How was I to live on my own? "I know you're worried. This is gonna be good for you. Just own it," she told me. "You can say I made you do it, or you can say you had the idea because it would be funny and I helped you, it doesn't matter. Walk in confidently and they'll think you're baller for it." I didn't believe her, but what choice did I have? The walk was long, and the whole way I couldn't bear the thought of walking into Kevin's house, party raging on, in my sexy little teen girl's cat costume. As we approached the front steps and began to hear music, my legs quivered in fear, making it harder and harder to balance on my short heels. Now this wasn't a high school party, with alcohol and wildness and all that. This was a middle schooler's first boys and girls together kind of event, with awkward dancing, parental supervision, and Capri Sun. Most of the kids had their parents dropping them off with an awkward hug and kiss, so it wasn't strange that Brianna guided me up to the doorbell and rang it. I'd been ringing doorbells trick or treating all night, worried someone would recognize me. This one was the worst. I clenched every muscle I had as the door opened, and Kevin greeted us in his robot getup made of cardboard boxes and tin foil. "Who are you, holy shit Hunter?" It didn't take long for him to see through the makeup and hair and into not only my identity, but my soul. I had jumped in the deep end, well, been pushed, and now I had to swim. "Hey Kevin," was all I could eke out. "Have fun," shouted Brianna as she began to walk away. I couldn't run away now, I was stuck seeing it through. Kevin's yell attracted a small crowd, and before long, 3 boys and 3 girls I knew were all gawking at my outfit. "Who did your makeup? Are those pantyhose? Ugh, I love that skirt, that's so cute." I couldn't answer them all at once, but was relieved at my very welcome reception. Mingling became easier. And then I saw her. Across the room, a princess slowly turned my way, her long purple Rapunzel dress elegantly swishing as her eyes met mine, a very long blonde wig flowing behind her. Part of my brain had remembered that by coming to this party, I'd see Caitlin, but the same part forgot that by coming, she'd see me. She looked stunning. I quickly averted my gaze to avoid any kind of stare, and frankly, I did not want to approach her like this. I probably wouldn't have approached her in my other costume either, but definitely not now. It wasn't a choice I got to make, since she approached me instead. Her recognition was instant. "Wow, Hunter. That's quite the costume." I couldn't tell whether she was being sarcastically mean or genuinely interested, or somewhere in between. Well, it was my sister's idea, seemed like the best answer at the time. Her eyes glistened, both with light purple eyeshadow and with her laughter. "Your whiskers are a little messed up, can I fix it?" she asked, and I of course allowed it. She took a small eyeliner pencil, similar to the one Brianna had used, and with her thumb smudged away some of the smeared parts, replacing them with a nice crisp line. "I think you're even better than me at lipstick," she added. I wasn't sure whether to correct her. "Actually," she pondered for a moment, "I think you could use a little gloss. Can I put it on you?" I was at a crossroads. I'd been feminized all morning by my sister, and now I was going to accept it from my crush? Should I be humiliated? Excited? And then I realized that something that touched her lips was about to touch mine. Seemed like a good deal to me. I nodded, and she jumped at the chance to apply the clear gloss on top of my already pink lipstick. When she was done, she instructed me to press my lips together, mimicking the action herself. I followed along and was left with a slightly shinier makeup job than I had before. Was it sad that this was probably the longest I'd ever talked to the girl I crushed on with my whole heart? That I had to be dressed this way to do it? I couldn't believe that Brianna had threatened me with showing Caitlin my pictures, and now she was instead seeing the pretty kitty version of me in person, ears, heels, makeup, and all. The truth is, I couldn't have expected any more from that interaction, and I didn't get much more. Most of the party she spent talking to her more popular friends and flirting with more popular guys, notably, who were dressed as men. And I couldn't help but be jealous of that. But I had gotten my moment. The night went on, the tension vanished, and I got ready to go home. As I prepared to exit and begin my walk, Caitlin made sure to find me one more time. "Hey, I think we should talk more." "Here's my number," she said, grabbing my phone from my hand, as if I would ever not let her, and punching in some digits. With her own phone, she snapped a quick selfie of us together. "For the contact photo," she explained. That was less than ideal, but getting her number was so close to ideal that I didn't care. When I made it home, Brianna graciously allowed me to change into regular boy pajamas and helped me remove what remained of my makeup. "Have fun?" she asked. "Actually? Yeah. You should be thanking me," she goaded. "Don't push it. Good night, Huntai." "Good night."